Hi, this is Alex. This is my presentation on Precious Time by T. Bui. I'm going to start with a clip of her giving a bit of explanation on the purpose of the story and the best we could do, and then I'm going to let her actually read the story herself. It's fairly short. She skips one part, so I'm going to read that myself. And then at the end, she talks about the last panel. I'm going to leave that in as well because it's fairly crucial to some of the points and comparisons I make with the other stories we've read. So I'll let her take it from here.
What I would like to do today is group all of my work together under the umbrella of the refugee experience and also the representation of refugees when we talk about policy and the future. So I want to start with something I wrote a couple of years ago, almost a couple of years ago, called Precious Time. There's nothing like losing your country when you're little to help you see nationalism as the strange and unnatural thing that it is. When I was 3, my parents packed our family and all our hopes into the cargo hold of a riverboat and set out to sea.
That was 1978. In the aftermath of the Vietnam War, we had relatives who helped us resettle in a small town in Indiana, USA. I wasted much of my youth trying to figure out which parts of me were Vietnamese and which were American.
We humans are about to waste a whole lot of precious time and resources fighting over who gets what. This often happens when there are major upheavals in the world. Sometimes it happens because some people are hoarding most of the resources. Both these conditions are currently in place. From space, all of this seems commonplace and small. But down here on Earth, our decisions matter. And I want to take a break from that image for a second because it's an image that I've drawn that troubles me. I drew it because that boy, whose name is Alan Kurdi, perished at sea trying to escape with his family from Syria to a safer place, and he didn't make it. I was also 3 when my parents put me in the exact same situation, and I made it. So I suppose when I saw that image in the news, I had what you might call survivor's guilt. I didn't understand why I made it and he didn't. And I was trying to understand that connection and try to make my own experience relevant to what was happening in the world today. But as a creator, as a media maker, I felt very troubled by my decision to use that particular image, even though it was very powerful. Because I can do a little bit of research about who Alan Kurdi was. I can make sure that I use his name and just not call him, anonymous Syrian boy. But the truth is, I don't know Alan. I didn't know Alan. I didn't know his family. So all I know is what I'm able to find secondhand. And so I'm not sure if I have the right or if I should even ethically be using his image, even for a good cause. And so it's been something I've been thinking about for the last couple of years. How do I do better? And I know that I called my book The Best We Could Do in a sort of like with a sort of a resigned spirit of parenting. I was actually thinking about parenting when I came up with that title. But the reality is that sometimes the best we could do is not good enough. And so we have to keep trying to do better than what we have done. So I'm here to offer you a couple of things that I've thought about in terms of coming up with a better alternative than continuing to use tragic images like Alan Kurdi's body on a beach to talk about refugee issues.
So, Precious Time was released in January 2017, right before the inauguration of Donald Trump. The Best We Could Do was released 2 months later in March. I think what she's trying to do with Precious Time and The Best We Could Do is exactly what she says. She wants to come up with a better way to talk about refugees and the refugee experience. She's making the point that we can't rely on tragic images to garner sympathy for refugees, because at that point it's too late. Alan Kurdi died in 2015 during the European refugee crisis. The story also includes a panel at a Trump rally to show how nationalistic phrases like America First contrasts with the later image of Alan lying dead on the beach. By juxtaposing Precious Time and The Best We Could Do, it gives me the impression that she wants stories about refugees and immigrants to be more personal and less reliant on tragedy to garner late sympathetic action. The Best We Could Do is her answer to her own feeling that using Alan Kurdi's picture is somehow wrong. Looking at the first panel, we see the only color is Vietnam completely red, and nationalism is emboldened in red. Couple this with her saying nationalism is a strange and unnatural thing, and it seems like Vietnam is engulfed in it. When T's family fled Vietnam, they cut ties with their homeland. They didn't cling to the idea that they needed to be in this particular place to be who they are. The red symbolizes war, family, blood, communism, and nationalism. They were driven out because life became unbearable. Down below we see the route they took to Malaysia. Aside from being the actual route they took, in the panel we see the dotted lines as T's family breaking from the idea of nationalism. The only thing that mattered to them was family. Precious Time relates to The Best We Could Do for obvious reasons. It's the same author and style. Both The Best We Could Do and Precious Time are relating to T's family's life. Precious Time has a bit more of a political edge, but it's basically a boiled down version of The Best We Could Do with a similar purpose. The point is, we need to empathize with refugees to accept and understand them as human, or in the reverse, accept and understand them to better empathize with them and help them. In The Arrival, many characters had similar situations of leaving bad places to find lives in new places, so they understood the main character easily. Even people who hadn't been through that were able to help him by recognizing he needed it. They willingly reached out their hand. In American-Born Chinese, Jin goes through a process of identity conflict. Does he erase who he is and conform to the identity of a new land, even though he won't be accepted for it? In T's story, she works to realize who she is. She was torn from her homeland before she even knew about it. Both Jin and T are able to come to a place of equilibrium, balancing their heritage with their lives in a new land. T recognizes her heritage as simply the ability to make for safe ground to protect her family, the way her parents did. She wrote Precious Time as a message to countries around the world to help people in need. She reinforced the message with The Best We Could Do. I'm going to leave you with one last clip of T. I think it's pretty much the whole point of why she wrote Precious Time and The Best We Could Do. So I'll let her take it from here. Thank you.
And I think that the answer for me right now so far is to not use the sensational images of people's deaths, but rather to listen to them while they're still alive. And as much as possible, tell stories in their own words.